Y'all, let's have a little check-in, a little mental health check-in. How are we all doing? How are you all doing? How are you coping? How are you managing your day-to-day? Your January was a rough month. And February, I hate to say it, but February is already, it's kind of looking like it's ugly sister January, just a little bit. And I don't know if you were at all like me, if you were, especially here in the US, kind of going through it right now. So I just want to see, how are we all doing? And just to let you know that, your feelings are valid. The stress, the anxiety, the sadness, the anger, whatever you are feeling right now about the state of our country, the state of our world, whatever you are feeling right now, your feelings are valid. So just wanted to put that out there. All right. So welcome back to my channel. Shalita here. So guys, let's talk about what we read in January. January was a bit of a, I don't know. It wasn't an impressive month for me. I had some great reads and then I had some mid reads. I don't think I had anything that was terrible, but I didn't have any 5 stars this month. So that was a little disappointing, but overall, some decent books this month. So how about you? For January, any 5 stars out there? Let me know down in the comments if you had any 5-star reads for January. Let me know what they were so I can add them to my ever-growing TBR. Maybe not for this year, but maybe for next year. Or depending how enticing it sounds, maybe we can throw it in the lineup for this year. Before we jump into things, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe for more. And with that, let's jump into these reads. All right, so the first book that I read for January was a banger for me. It wasn't a 5-star, but it was still amazing. And y'all know how I feel about Mr. S.A. Cosby. So the first book that I read in January was My Darkest Prayer by S.A. Cosby. Strangely enough, this was his debut novel. So I've kind of been working my way backwards through his catalog. I like that I did that because getting back to, going into this book, I can see the growth in him. I can see like, oh, okay, like Razorblade Tears is his, I do believe that one is the most recent book. And that's the one I started with. And it was a 5-star for me. It was top tier. And then I read All the Sinners Bleed. Then I read, I think, Blacktop Wasteland. And then there's this one. So in My Darkest Prayer, one of the things that's different is the point of view. In his newer novels, it's like all in third person. This one is in the first person POV. So our main character is Nathan. Nathan is a Marine or former Marine and a former sheriff in this small town of Virginia. Y'all know S.A. Cosby loves to set things in Virginia, in the South, and he is now working with his cousin, or working for his cousin at his cousin's funeral home. A local priest is found dead in his home, and initially it's ruled as suicide. But members of the community aren't quite buying that suicide explanation or, ruling. They weren't buying that, and they felt like something was amiss, something was suspicious. So they know that Nathan has a history with the sheriff's office. Not only does Nathan have a history working for the sheriff's office, but he has also been known to basically question the integrity of the sheriff's office due to a personal issue that a personal matter a criminal case involving his family. And there was an issue with how the case was handled. Anyway, so some of the members in the community kind of hire Nathan to do a little PI work, you know, kind of investigate the death of this local pastor. Nathan kind of takes this on, and eventually he starts getting the sense or the feeling that not everything is on the up and up. Not everything is what it seems. And he kind of soon agrees that, hey, maybe this pastor did not, in fact, kill himself. Maybe, you know, maybe he was, you know. It was gritty. It was thrilling. Kind of has you on the edge of your seats. Has that, those mystery elements to it. Like, you know, you're wondering, okay, you know, did this pastor kill himself? If not, what did this pastor get himself wrapped up in? Because this pastor had he had a history. He had a past. And it was a shady past. So it kind of lengthened that list of potential suspects. So this was just a really good read. Nice twist to it. I say Cosby just knows how to, this man knows how to write a thriller. And not just the suspenseful elements, but also I love the nuances, you know, the cultural references to, you know, to the South, the Black community, to the church. And his novels really kind of shine a light on issues, racism, misogyny, issues surrounding religion and the church. And it was just really exciting. This is a really excellent book. Yes, and I rated this one 4 stars. I don't know if I said that already, but I rated this one 4 stars. Excellent read. The next book. And y'all, I'm convinced this is why the rest of my January did not, this was part of the reason that, the rest of my January was kind of lackluster. I mean, also, you know, the state of our world, but, you know, we're not going to go there again. But the next book that I read in January was Magnolia Parks by Jessa Hastings. Y'all, let me take a sip and then set this mug down so we can get into this book. This book ate me up, okay? Like, I ate this book up and it ate me up too. Like, oh my gosh, you guys. This novel is so character driven. Like, it really is. And you love and hate Magnolia all at the same time. You know, like, not hate her, but just annoyed by her. So let me set the scene for you. Well, this book is generally follows our main characters, Magnolia and BJ. Magnolia and BJ are these very, you know, rich, affluent, or I guess they're in their early 20s, you know, 20-somethings in London. And they are childhood sweethearts, but they have this tumultuous relationship, right? This on again, off again. They had a pretty nasty breakup. Something pretty bad happened in their relationship and caused them to break up. And now they are just kind of going tit for tat, you know, doing destructive things to kind of, you know, one up each other or to test each other. He sleeps around with a bunch of chicks, and then she's kind of a serial dater. So they just kind of do things to get a reaction out of the other one, right? But they can't seem to let each other go. And so we just kind of follow their lives, you know, their flashy little lives and their relationship with each other. Not just their relationship, but we follow along their friend group. This has been compared to Gossip Girl. I never read Gossip Girl, but I never watched Gossip Girl, but this does give that, you know, teen drama show type feel to it, you know, 90210, The OC. That's my age range, you know, except these kids are like really, you know, rich and, you know, they're not just taking trips to, you know, California. They're like going to like private islands and stuff like that. But what makes this book so special is the writing, the prose, just the way that she phrases things. And you feel like you're in Magnolia's head or BJ's head when they talk, especially Magnolia. Like, especially Magnolia. It's just like this stream of consciousness. It's almost like we're being privy to her private thoughts. And I generally hate a bunch of inner monologuing. But the way that she does it, I just imagine her like either like in the confessional booth with her priest and just bearing her soul. Or this is her laying across her bed and just talking out loud to the universe. It also gave that feeling of like, once again, I'm gonna tell my age here. There was that series Felicity. I don't know if does anybody remember that series? Does anybody remember the show Felicity? I think you can even catch it on Hulu now. But Felicity would record, you know, she had like her like a tape recorder, and it was basically like her diary. So this is kind of what that felt like when you're hearing Magnolia's thoughts. It's just her just bearing her soul, you know, not caring about judgment or anything. She's just letting it all out. And it was just beautiful. And I highlighted, and I'm trying to find, I know I annotated a lot. I want to find something that really stood out. I mean, these two are quite dysfunctional. Yes, this book is 100% worth the hype, but this is definitely not, like, this is not the kind of love that I would want for myself or for my daughter. Like, make no mistake. This is a very unhealthy relationship. They are very, like, codependent, toxic, dysfunctional. Like, this isn't good. Like, these two they both definitely needed some therapy. And I think this book just really shows, you know, what unhealed trauma looks like. Magnolia definitely had her and her parents, you know, don't necessarily have a very good relationship. She didn't even call her dad she don't even say dad or father, you know, she literally would call him by his name. And you'll hear plenty of people say that, you know, a girl's relationship with her father is, you know, it's extremely important. You know, it's very important, especially when it comes to, you know, her dating choices. And I do think that her relationship with her father greatly impacted her dating life, her choices, and what she was, you know, doing and dealing with BJ. For Magnolia to be a daggone virgin, Magnolia's milkshake was bringing all the boys to the yard. This girl literally, like, everybody was in love with her. Like, in some way, shape, or form, Magnolia had them boys fall in love with her. Like, dang, girl, what's the secret? Okay, so I just want to, like, read a couple little, like, excerpts that, like, stood out for me. So in this scene, Magnolia is kind of talking about the infidelity. She's talking about when BJ had cheated on her. So this is well away from that, you know. But anyway, this is her kind of like reflecting on things. Okay, there were these couple of months after everything that had happened with Christian where Beej and I began, Beej is kind of a nickname for BJ. There were a couple of months after everything that had happened with Christian where Beej and I began to drift back towards what we used to be. I'm going to pick it up because I feel like this, like I said, this is her like saying this in her mind. This is just her wheels spinning. This is her talking out loud. So I feel like this has a more frenetic pace to it when she's thinking it. Like, this is her mind justifying things, okay? It says, there were these couple of months after everything that happened with Christian where Beej and I began to drift back towards what we used to be. It wasn't intentional or conscious. It was just easier to be with him than to not be. And maybe that's not a good thing. I don't know anymore. I can't objectively tell with us. With anything to do with him, my heart's logic is as blurry as the lines we pretend we don't cross. I was still broken, and I was still sad, and I still didn't trust him how I used to trust him. But I think at one point I loved him more than he hurt me. And it sort of began to feel stupid to me to love someone how I loved him and to throw it all away because he had sex with someone else one time. I'm not belittling that, by the way, or making excuses. It makes me feel sick to say it even now. It's not that it didn't matter. I think it's just that how much I love him mattered more. Y'all, when I read that, like, before she was like, I'm not belittling that, I was like, Magnolia, you are fucking gaslighting yourself. Like, you were literally gaslighting yourself. Girl, like, I swear there's so many times in this book where you feel like this is one of your best friends, or like this is your sister. Like, literally her relationship issues, I'm like, this is my sister. Like, I just want to shake you. I want to grab you by the shoulders and shake you and say, enough is enough. Like, what the fuck are you doing? But yeah, I just read it when she was like, you know, how I loved him and to throw it all away because he had sex with someone else one time. Like, girl, no, like, your feelings are valid. Like, you don't have to sit up here and like, oh, well, we've had so much, why throw it all away? It's okay to be hurt by what he did. But yeah, just, let's see what else we got. I mean, there was just so many good moments in this book. Like, painfully good. Like, the trauma, the anguish. Like, it's like a Shakespeare, or a Greek tragedy or something. Just, like, this book was so draining. Like, these two hurt. Like, they were hurting, and they were hurting each other, and they were okay. So there's this one scene I was like, girl, are you a Virgo? Because okay, so in this scene, Magnolia is walking us back through the night that BJ told her that he had cheated, you know. So she says, so this is after he's told her. She says, his heart broke on his face and I ran into my bathroom, closing the door and locking it behind me. I stayed in there crying for 4 hours and he sat outside my door crying the whole time. He cried so much he worked himself into a sort of panic attack. His breathing went gaspy, like it was stuck in his throat and couldn't get to his chest. Like he was suffocating. I opened the door, rushing to him, sat in his lap, took his face in my hands, and breathed with him silently. In and out, in and out. I did what he did to me all those times I had panic attacks that I don't like to think about, and his breathing eventually fell in pace with mine. His eyes didn't look away from mine, so blue from the redness of crying. And this is the part where I'm like, she's gotta be a freaking Virgo. I'm like, girl, you me. What a mindfuck it is to comfort the person who just blew your whole heart open with a rifle. Carnage everywhere, men down, blood spilled. But the truth is, when you love someone how we were in love, it didn't matter what he'd do to me. He could have hit me with a bus. Kind of wish he did. I still would have done everything I could to make him not feel what he was feeling. Like, I feel that. Like, yeah, I feel that. You know, this man blew her whole world up, but she comforted him. She saw him in pain because of the pain he caused her, and probably because of his guilt too, as a mom, as a person, period, you know. But definitely as a mom, you have to compartmentalize. A lot of times you're putting your feelings on the back burner because you feel like you have to be strong for other people, for everybody else, you know. So I get that. One part she says, too much of my life, maybe even too much of who I am entirely, can be traced back to him or us. So I mean, remember, they've been together since they were kids, so she doesn't know where she ends and he begins. They are so enmeshed in each other, and that's why it's so hard for them to untangle. She says, everything wonderful, everything magical, everything painful, everything beautiful and spectacular and wretched and defining that has happened to me happened with him, and I hate him for that. Like, oh, when I read that, oh my god, like, it just gave me goosebumps. Like, her whole life, like, he is in it, and the moment he hurt her, he soured everything. Like, everything, every memory is now tainted because of what he did. This was a really excellent book. It's taking everything in me not to like go get Daisy Hates and read it. So if you don't know, this is a part of a series. And they call it like the Magnolia Parks universe or whatever. So I think this, I never quite, let me look. Let me tell you how many books is in this series. There are several books in this series. So we have two main characters. We have Magnolia and then we have Daisy. The Magnolia Parks books are about, are from Magnolia's point of view. She's the main, main female character in those. And then Daisy is the main female character, or the main character in her books. And so what I've heard is that it's the same timeline, but it's from her perspective. So Daisy Hates, book one is during the time of the events of this, but it's just from Daisy's perspective, and so on and so forth. Okay, so right now there are 5 books. There's going to be a book 6. I don't know when it's coming out, but yeah, it's up to 5 books at this point. And it appears that it's like 3 books per, per leading lady. So 3 books for Magnolia, 3 books for Daisy. So it looks like the final book is going to be Daisy's book, because book 5 was about Magnolia. This gave me a book hangover, not a slump. This literally gave me a book hangover. When I finished it, I was stuck. I was like y'all drained me. The drama of them, they drained me. And there are some twists in here, some secrets revealed, and you're I'm not giving away no spoilers or nothing, but yeah, excellent book. Yes, it lives up to the hype. Yes, Shaughnessy girl, this lives up to the hype. Y'all don't even want to talk about that. I don't even want to talk about the rest of the books. January was such a wild month. February is even harder. Going back and trying to reflect on what I read last month has just been mentally taxing. Even with taking notes, it has been mentally taxing. We're going through it over here. The next book that I read was A Song of Wraiths and Ruin by Roseanne Brown. So this is a young adult fantasy, and this one, look at that cover. First of all, the cover is gorgeous. I rated this 3 stars. I think this was a pretty good book. I think it was decent. I think the biggest problem for me is after reading Children of Blood and Bone, it's so hard to find a young adult fantasy that's on that level. And I hate that for me, and I hate that for every young adult fantasy that comes along, because I feel like I'm comparing everything to that book because it was so phenomenal. This story follows our main characters, Malik and Karina. Malik and his sisters are fleeing their country, or their village, which has basically been ravaged by war. So they have fled their home, basically seeking, a better life. So they go to this great city in their country, their universe, whatever. The place that they are from, their people are looked down upon. This book kind of shines a light on xenophobia and the treatment of immigrants and refugees. I think she does a really good job of that in this book, or at least initially we see that Malik and his sister set out to basically seek refuge, find a new home, somewhere safe, somewhere nice. And one of his sisters gets abducted, and the person that has taken his sister basically kind of cuts a deal with him, hey, well, if you want your sister back, you're gonna have to kill the princess being Karina. Then we have Karina. Like I said, she's the princess, and this is some stuff that you'll find on the back. So Karina's mother is they call her the Sultana, so she's basically the queen, right? So her mother gets murdered, which, next in line, who's gonna take the throne? Karina, right? But Karina's hey, I don't want to rule. This is not the life for me. I'm not ready for this. She learns about a ritual that will allow her to bring someone back from the dead. So she's I'm gonna bring my mom back from the dead, because that's the queen you all need. That's who y'all deserve. And she learns that one of the key ingredients for this ritual is the heart of a king. So unfortunately, there's no king just laying around because, you know, her father is since deceased. There's this great festival in her country of Ziran. So they have this great festival called Solstasia, and it's like they host these games. It's a festival, there's games and challenges. The queen is allowed to choose the prize that the winner will receive. So Karina starts scheming. Okay, well, you know what the prize is going to be. If you win this, I'll make you a king. So Karina figures, I make a king, I kill the king, I get that heart, I bring my mom back. So she's doing all this plotting and scheming. The nation, the world, their citizens have no idea that her mother's dead, right? She's planning, you know, her and her advisors are basically kind of sweeping it under the rug for now. They're trying to hold off on it because they don't want, you know, any political unrest. Like I said, this is a pretty decent book. So it's YA. There is a little bit of a love story in here, and I think it's supposed to be like enemies to lovers, and I don't feel like they were really enemies enough. Like, I feel like there was enough hate there. Oh my god, y'all, I was reading reviews, and somebody had put that somebody wrote like, oh, like Malik betrayed his sister for some royal coochie. Stop. These are kids. I mean, they're teens. They're older teens, but still, stop. Y'all are wild. The action kind of picked up towards the end. Like once the other shoe drops and, you know, the twist is revealed, then we get some action. But there wasn't a whole lot of action. Maybe there'll be more action in book 2. You know, book 1 kind of left off on a cliffhanger, so I will continue with it. This is a duology, so I will continue on with it. I do love the nod to African mythology. I love that. I love that. I will tell y'all this too. This print was testing, baby. This was an eye exam. Like, I don't know if y'all see how small that print is. Like, Roseanne, baby, what you trying to do to me, girl? Yes. Oh, so yeah, let me shout out to the mental health representation in this. Malik had anxiety, and it was, I think it was really well done. The way she demonstrated that, the way she showed that and described that for him. So I think that was really well done. All right, the next book that I read was Along for the Ride by Mimi Grace. So this was romance, and some of the tropes in this are enemies to lovers, forced proximity, and one bed trope. So our main characters are Jolene and Jason. Jolene's sister is married to Jason's best friend. Let me not forget age gap too. There's an age gap. So she's like in her 20s, he's in his 30s, and it's also an interracial romance. So she's a black woman, he's Polynesian. Sis and best friend are moving across country for a job, for a new life. And so Jolene and Jason have, you know, volunteered to help move them. So they're basically taking a road trip across the country. So they are forced to travel together in this moving van to, you know, help their, you know, their loved ones get moved in. Yeah, so you get a little bit of their like irritation and disgust for each other before the trip starts out, and you get a little bit of it in the car too. I don't think they didn't really, the enemies wasn't enemy in long enough for me, you know. Like I feel like they started being real friendly a little too daggone quick. But they get into a little car trouble, you know, truck breaks down, and they kind of go on like a little bit of side quest, which was kind of cute. There's like a little side quest in here, and it is kind of adorable, which kind of leads them to a, you know, a one bed situation. The spice was spicing. Spice was good. The spice was good. It was good. Yeah, it was a decent book. I really enjoyed Jolene's, her passion for her career. She was very career driven. We love to see it. Yeah, this one was just, you know, it was decent. It was a decent read. There were some little funny moments, some funny banter in there. I wish I had more to say, y'all. Like, seriously, things just started going downhill after Magnolia. Like, Yeah, I wish I could have seen them a little bit more like on the road together. Like that would have been more fun. So it's like they went from enemies to lovers to then it was like a friends with benefit situation, which was kind of weird, but okay. All right, so editing Shalita here. So I forgot to mention a book that I read in January. So I'm just gonna try to insert this in. Okay. One of the books that I read in January was Let Me Hold You by Alexandria House. I listened to this as an audiobook, and this is a part of the McLean Brothers series. So I read book 1 last year. It was a part of a whole vlog. So yeah, this is book 2. So this family consists of several brothers, and so this book focuses on Leland. Leland is the youngest of the brothers. This story follows Leland and our main female character Kim. This is an age gap romance, so if you are a fan of age gap romances, this is for you, especially where the main female character is the older of the two. So in this story we have Leland and Kim. So Leland is like in his early 20s. He's in the NBA. He is successful. And we have Kim. Kim is a director of a community center, and just so happens to be the mother of Leland's like arch rival, his arch nemesis. Leland and Kim's son used to actually be teammates. Like they were on the same NBA team, and something happened. There was some beef between them, and Leland, ends up going to another team, Leland happens to start volunteering at this community center. Initially, he doesn't know that Kim is, his arch rival's mom, or at least he doesn't recall. He doesn't remember that she is who she is. Eventually, he does realize who she is. So she knows who he is, of course, because he's a famous NBA player, and I think she is aware that her son and him do have, some issues with each other, have a little bit of beef. Initially, there's no real attraction there. Kim's not looking for anything serious. She likes her freedom. She's not trying to be in a relationship. Leland actually happens to prefer older women, but she's not, initially I guess when he sees her, she's not really his type. He's like, hey, she's pretty, but she's still she's not as seasoned as he prefer. They try to fight the feeling, right? And eventually, they do kind of connect and start sneaking around, fooling around, because she knows that if her son finds out, he's gonna lose his shit. So her son is very, very, very controlling of her, very controlling. He has anger issues, and she does everything she can to kind of tiptoe around that and try to placate that, and try to keep him from getting upset. And the more that her and Leland kind of are sneaking around, Leland starts feeling like hey, I'm serious about this, I'm all in. Eventually he's tired of doing all the sneaking around and stuff like that. So we're kind of following their relationship, seeing how that blossoms, seeing how that develops, but also at the same time, we're kind of wary of the situation with her son, because we've seen how he acts in this book. Baby, and I get it. Her son is the pure example of, I want to say untreated trauma, but she does mention that she did get him, some therapy when he was a child. He did witness, a very traumatic event. He was involved in a traumatic event. This book does mention domestic violence. So, if that's a trigger for you, just, be aware of that. Yeah, her and her son kind of have a very, I don't want to say toxic, but they have a very weird dynamic. He feels like he can tell her what to do, he treats her like he's her daggone daddy. And she tends to take it because she has guilt around the situation, the traumatic event that involved her and him. Good book. Lots of drama, lots of spice. There is this one scene, oh my gosh, I'm listening to it. I was sitting in the Meijer parking lot, cracking up. If anybody had pulled up and parked next to me, they would have been like, what is wrong with this woman? So in the scene, Leland and Kim, they go back to their apartment, you know, their apartment building, their condo or whatever, moved in the same building, you know, but they're still kind of like tiptoeing around and not telling her son what's up. Okay, he was gonna go ahead to his place and wait for her, and she was gonna go and, you know, get some things from her condo, and then she would meet him back at his place. So he's like, all right, baby, you know, like it's about to go down. So she goes in her, you know, her condo, her apartment. I'm just gonna call it an apartment, it's just easier for me. She goes in her apartment, and she goes in her bedroom, and she's like, there's this, you know, she sees this man sitting on the edge of her bed. Well, the man on the edge of her bed is her son. And he's like, you know, like, are you fooling around with, you know, Leland, you know, are you fooling around with Leland McLean? And so she kind of, you know, like, hey, yeah, you know, we are seeing each other, you know, I care about him. And he's all like, pack your stuff. You're coming back with me to, I think he's in Orlando or something. He's like, you're leaving tonight. You're coming with me. You know, I'm taking you back home with me so I can keep an eye on you. Like, that's literally what he said. I'm taking you back home so I can keep an eye on you. Sir, I'm sorry, you came out of me. You are gonna keep an eye on me? Absolutely not. So he's like pulling her stuff out of the closet, packing her bags up. And so then she hears Leland enter the apartment. So mind you, they're in the bedroom, you know, they're probably like in the back of the apartment. So Leland's like, yo, baby, what's taking you so long? You know, I'm ready to. So he starts describing like all this explicit sexual stuff that he wants to do to her. And she looks at her son's face, and he's just like, he's like morphing, right? You know, he's getting ready to Hulk out. But Leland doesn't stop. He keeps going into detail, like walking through the apartment about what he's gonna do to her and how he wants to have her. And I'm just like, you could feel it, like, stop. Like, he keeps going, and it's like, it's worse and it's worse. And I'm like, you can see her son's face. Like, you can feel that tension, and you can feel her embarrassment, but also her fear. Like she knows that her son has like some explosive anger issues. But it was just so like, it was so funny because he just kept going. It was nasty. The stuff that he wanted to do was very, very nasty. Very good book. Very good book. This series is it's so full of drama. I love it. If you're looking for a lot of spice, a lot of drama, this is a good book. So, all right. Just want to throw that in there since I forgot to mention it. So the last book that I read in January was Final Girls by Mr. Riley Sager. Y'all know I had beef with this man. Did he redeem himself? Okay, yes and no. So this book, it was definitely better than House Across the Lake. Definitely better by miles than House Across the Lake. But I mean, it still wasn't. It wasn't a 4-star. It wasn't a 5-star. I think I think I put 4 stars on Goodreads because you know you can't do half stars. But I would say that this probably sits at about a 3.5 star for me. This book follows our main character Quincy. So Quincy is a final girl. She is a survivor, a lone survivor of a massacre. And not only is she a lone survivor, there are 2 other women who are also lone survivors of massacres. And so they've kind of been looped into this like final girls club situation. One day she looks up, one of the other final girls turns up dead from an apparent suicide. And then the other one shows up on her doorstep not long after. Not gonna lie, I found Quincy annoying at times. Okay, so I've only read two Riley Sager books. I don't know if I want to read a third one just to prove my theory, but it feels like his main female characters are really gullible or really freaking nosy. Like, they are constantly doing stuff they have absolutely no business doing. So in House Across the Lake, I can't remember her name right now, but she was nosy as I'll get out. Like she she was nosy. She got herself into some situations because she couldn't mind her own damn business. Quincy got herself into some situations because she was so fucking gullible. This other survivor pops up on her doorstep and she kind of takes her in, I don't know, out of curiosity, out of kinship. And so what's her name? What's her name? The other woman. So Lisa's the one that died, and Sam. So Sam blows into her life like a fucking force of nature, and Quincy starts doing all kinds of crazy, wild things. You know, Sam makes her feel alive, and the shit that Sam gets her into, you know, is some shit she finds it hard to get herself out of. I will say, the twist I was not expecting. What else did I not? I didn't quite enjoy, and I listened to this one on audio. Maybe it would have been better if I read it, but the jumping between timelines. So you're kind of going back and forth from present day to 10 years prior when the massacre happened that Quincy survived. And for a minute I thought it was gonna be like House Across the Lake, because they were talking about some cursed woods and some, you know, how the woods are haunted or something. I was like, not again. You're not gonna do this to me again. But no, thank goodness there was no paranormal, supernatural aspects to this. This one was fairly decent. I'm telling you, the only good thing about the flashback, you know, flashing back, was when we, you know, get to see the murder scene. I mean, God forgive me, but I mean, it was action. You know, at least we got to see some action. You know, sorry that it was, you know, listening to these people get murdered and stuff, but I mean, that was thrilling. That's the only time the action really happened, is once we really start getting down to what happened, to the night of the murder. Yeah. Final Girls by Riley Sager. Better than House Across the Lake. I don't know that I summarized that one well. Y'all, I need February to be the most amazing and magical month, because January was not it. January was not it for me. Have you read any of these? Are you a Riley Sager fan? Let me know. Am I being too picky? Am I asking for too much? Am I missing something? Are there some thriller elements that I'm not recognizing that, you know, that I should be? That is all that I have for you guys. Have you read any of these? Let me know down in the comments. What are you guys planning to read for February? I already uploaded my February TBR. I'm pretty hopeful. It's gotta be better than this. Gotta be better than this month. All right, guys. Well, that's all that I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe for more. And until the next one, friends. Bye.